Hi, I'm Elsa. I'm a news desk editor here at the Kyiv Independent, and today we are interviewing Kajsa Ollongren, the Dutch Defense Minister. Hi Kajsa, thank you so much for your time. The last interview that you had with the Kyiv Independent was actually in Munich. Today we're in Kyiv. And one of the reasons why we're able to have this interview here today in Kyiv is because of the air defense system around the city. There are reports, however, that in the coming weeks, maybe even by the end of March, the slowdown in supplies from the West will have a direct impact on the number of missiles that Ukrainian air defense are able to shoot down, which obviously directly impacts civilians living here. How is the Netherlands contributing to Ukrainian air defense, not just in Kyiv, but also in cities like Odessa or Kharkiv, where Prime Minister Mark Rutte was a few weeks ago?
Air defense is crucial. And I know, because this is the fourth time I'm in Kyiv, and the reason that you can feel safe in Kyiv is because of the air defense. And we also know that Ukraine is a big country with many big cities. And so it's difficult to have enough air defense. But we know it's vital to Ukraine. It's always very high on our list. We were also part of the countries that stepped forward to provide Patriots, for instance, and other types of air defense. So we know how important it is, and we and all other countries are aware of that. And it's also a question of adapting the production levels. And that is, I think, what we will keep pushing for.
1 year ago today, the EU promised Ukraine it would be able to deliver 1 million shells within the next 12 months. As we know, this did not happen, and the Ukrainians are now facing a serious ammunition shortage and a shell shortage on the front lines. When do you expect the EU to reach the 1 million mark, and what is the main bottleneck preventing this from happening?
We are working now on what we now call the Czech initiative, and this is a large number of shells. We have the funding now. The Netherlands is contributing 250 million euros to this initiative, and we're working very hard with the Czechs to make sure that the ammunition is shipped as soon as possible to arrive in Ukraine and at the front line. Because we want the soldiers on the front to feel that there is a steady flow of ammunition. So, and after that, we will have to make sure that we are on the right level of production. We know that the level of production in the European Union at the end of the year will be much, much higher than it was before the 22nd of February 2022. And that is what we need. And we need it long term. We need it for Ukraine. And we know also that Ukraine also itself, of course, has a production facility that will be able to increase. We will have to increase, and we have to keep it on that high level.
With the current level and speed of support coming to Ukraine from Europe and the West, do you think Ukraine can still win this war?
Well, we are confident that Ukraine can win the war. We are supporting Ukraine in every possible way because we are also very impressed by your achievements so far. We must not forget that the Russian Federation and Putin has not achieved a single goal that they set themselves at the beginning, and they have achieved a lot of the opposite. So they have achieved enlargement of NATO. They have achieved that Ukraine is also at the table with NATO, that there's perspective of EU membership. And there is a large unity, big unity among European countries in the support for Ukraine. So you see that Ukraine has many, many friends. And that is also the opposite of what Russian Federation wanted. So yes, we are confident. It may take time, but we will be there, and we will continue to support for as long as it takes.
So now on to the favorite topic of the Dutch support to Ukraine, and that is the F-16 coalition. There were some optimistic predictions last year that the Ukrainians would be able to get the F-16s in Ukraine by late May, early June this year. I'm wondering if you have any updates on the timeline concerning the training of Ukrainian pilots and when we can expect to see F-16s in the airspace above Ukraine.
Well, I think that we are on track, and this is not something that you can do overnight. It is a complex capability, but it's an important capability. And so we have to do everything right. And that is that you have to have trained pilots and technicians to have the infrastructure in place. And we are also working on preparing the platforms, or the aircraft itself, to make sure that they have the right ammunition and are ready for use. So it's going to start phasing in this summer and then working towards a scale up of the numbers of planes, and especially also the number of people who can use the planes.
So keeping on the theme of the air, we've also seen how drones are an incredibly important part of the battle for Ukraine. The Netherlands has joined recently the Drone Coalition, and I'm wondering how the Netherlands sees this form of technology, whether there are any lessons learned that the Dutch military are implementing, and whether Ukraine is seen as a testing ground for technologies on the battlefield.
We're very eager to learn from your experiences with every capability that you use, but especially, of course, the new techniques, which is drones and unmanned systems. I would not say that we see it as a testing line, because it's very serious business. People are dying while fighting at the front. But what is important, I think, also for Ukraine is that the techniques used there, you have to know which one are successful, which one are not successful, and also what the enemy is doing, because they're also developing their techniques. And that will enable us to adapt to that reality, to adapt our techniques, to use new techniques, better techniques that are better than what the opposite side uses. So therefore, I think we need to have this feedback loop. I always say it's a two-way street. It's not just us sending things to Ukraine. We get knowledge back, experience back. We use that to improve. And that is also why I think our industries have to work together to get the very best for the soldiers that are doing the fighting.
So a few weeks ago, the European Commission proposed its first ever European Defense Industrial Strategy. You've also come out and said that the EU needs to be fit to fight, and a European defense industry is a key part of that. What do you think the Netherlands can contribute to a European defense industry? Are there parts of the private sector that could really help in this regard?
I think so. I think we have to work together, and we have to do that within the European Union, and we have to invite Ukraine to also to be part of that. And that is exactly what the Commission is now proposing. And I think we have to think European. Together we are stronger. And for instance, in the Netherlands, we have a very strong maritime sector, and we have very strong high-tech sector. And I think this is what we should develop and could contribute to the industries that are also located in other countries. And then you create European strength. And so if everybody is doing the same in their own country, then you're not producing at scale, and you're not getting stronger. And I think also, as I said, at the maintenance facility, you see that we are exporting our own fragmentation. Ukraine has to fight with all kind of different types of infantry fighting vehicles, tanks, etc. And also there we have to have interoperability, standardization, or even interchangeability by using the same product, to have user groups of countries that use the same. If you use the same, you can also fight together. And therefore, I think we also have to learn from the Ukrainian experience. But I think the European Commission is taking a step in the right direction.
So you've come out in support of a European Commissioner of Defense and a new role within the EU. I'm wondering what you think the number one priority should be of the person in this role if it is created.
Yes, I think it's very important, because I think what the war in Ukraine has taught us is that we have to be ready in Europe to take care of our own security, to be able to defend ourselves, also inside of NATO. So supporting Ukraine and at the same time building up our defense industries and building up our armed forces. It is the only way to be efficient in your deterrence if we are actually fit to fight. And take the Netherlands, we're what we call a medium-sized country with 17 million people. That's quite substantial, but look at our geography. We are close to the sea. We have our big German neighbors. So we have to work together with industries, with other armed forces, and we have to join forces to be strong.
So the Netherlands is a country that has actually integrated some parts of its army with the German army. It's quite a forerunner in the sense of integrating armies across borders. I'm wondering what your stance is on the creation of a European army or greater integration between armies in Europe.
I'm very practical. So we have NATO for our collective defense. We also have other tasks that we have to perform. And if you work together, you can be stronger. For instance, our army that is integrated with the German army, that means that our brigades are training on division levels. And that makes us stronger, and it also makes Germany stronger. And if the Netherlands and Germany are stronger, then NATO is also stronger. So this makes sense. And I hope that other countries, neighboring countries, are looking at our example because it will make all of NATO stronger.
So Donald Trump recently said that Europe doesn't have to worry about the US leaving NATO as long as the countries pay their share. And of course, he's referring to the 2% spending, 2% national spending on defense. How do you feel as, the Netherlands as a country that for a very long time did not reach 2%, about the future of NATO and about the US as a reliable member of the alliance?
Well, I think that the people that have this debate, they forget one thing. For a long time, the 2% was not a floor. It was a target. And it was a target to be reached this year, 24. And we reached that target because this government decided that in 24 and 25, we would spend 2% on defense. Last year in Vilnius, we agreed with all NATO countries, 2% is the floor. It's a minimum. Yeah. And as a Minister of Defense, I say that is very important. It is the minimum. It's not enough. We have to do more than that. And we're working on that. So, and NATO it's more than just looking at the funding. NATO is about trust. It is about Article 5. It's about agreeing on that this is what we do as an alliance and as allies. And if that trust is in doubt, then NATO becomes weaker. Mm-hmm. So I will resist the simplicity of just translating it into is everybody just under or just over the 2%. It is about, are you ready to step in if Article 5 is triggered? And it's only been triggered once by the United States. And I think it is our duty now to make sure that our deterrence is in order and that Article 5 is not triggered. And I think that is what NATO is all about.
As a last question, Ukraine obviously at the moment is about the 60 billion that it remains stuck in the US, the funding package for Ukraine. Do you think that the slowdown in support, primarily from the US, is pushing Ukraine into an unfavorable negotiating position?
Well, I mean, we've always said it's up to Ukraine to decide when you want to start negotiations. But I completely understand you don't start negotiations when you have a gun pointed at your head. You want to be in a strong position. And that is why we will continue to support Ukraine to resist this Russian aggression, to fight against this illegal annexation of part of your country. You're completely within your rights and you have our full support. I think you are seeing that European countries are doing a lot. The United States is an important partner and a very big country. So in terms of what they can contribute, it's difficult for us to compensate it between Ukraine and the European countries. So I really hope that there will be a solution. And I think there are many people in the United States who agree with that. Also many members of Congress, bipartisan, who agree that this has to be done. But we all know that it is still stuck because of political reasons that have nothing to do with the war in Ukraine.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good questions. Thank you.